Good morning. Welcome to morning meeting. So here's what's on my mind this morning. As you know, if you watched the video from the other day, I was subbing somewhere, and it's a high school where I was subbing. And working with high school students is a totally different ballgame because, quite frankly, as the teacher, you barely exist, and if you're the sub, you really just don't matter, which is par for the course. Not different at this particular school. But one of the things that came up because I was subbing for English, I asked all the students in every class that I had, hey, I asked two questions. I said, hey, what'd you do? What was the best part of your summer? You know, and some had answers and some didn't, and some shared and some didn't. And then I asked, if you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go? What would you do? And I was pleasantly surprised because many of them have the desire to travel outside of Nebraska. They have, whether that's go to another state or to go outside of the United States. I was really happy about that. Uh, there were several that did. There were a handful who were like, no, I'm good. I'm just going to stay here. And, to each his own. But the reason I really appreciate and like the fact that so many of them were willing to travel is because that gives me so much hope. Because as you know, and I know, the more you travel, the more you gain perspective on a lot of things. You gain a clearer perspective about where you come from and an appreciation perhaps for where you come from. And at the same time, you gain a perspective and appreciation for the place and the people where you're going. You gain a lot of understanding. And it's especially useful if when you go to a country they don't speak English and you really have to figure out how to navigate in that space. So I was really happy to hear that. I thought, that's awesome. How will you make that happen? Is what I asked some of them. What will you do? When do you think you're going to do that? Do you think you'll take a gap year and go travel? What do you think is going to happen? Some of them were like, well, I'm not really sure, but I'm going to figure it out. One of them said he wanted to go to New Zealand, and I said, oh, well, that's interesting. Why New Zealand? I mean, I've never been there. I've never been to Australia. Everything I see about it seems like, oh, these are beautiful places, but I haven't been there yet. And he's like, I just feel like New Zealand, I would vibe with that culture. I think that's a really good culture for me. And I thought, this boy's been thinking about this a little bit, so I wouldn't be surprised at all if he ended up, finding out later, he's in New Zealand. That would not shock me or surprise me if that's what happened with this young man. So think about that for a little bit. If you're not someone who travels, why? Why don't you want to get out and travel? And if you're someone who does travel, why do you do it? What about traveling is something that you enjoy? Leave a comment. Remember to subscribe and have a badass day. See ya.